Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Are you concerned with the tariffs? Everywhere you read in the news, prices are going up. What are we going to do? What should we stockpile? How are we going to survive? So here are some tips from Alaska Granny about a tariff survival guide. What are some items you might want to stock up on because of rising prices? Well, first of all, look over what you have. Take an inventory of your supplies and don't panic. Don't run out and buy things simply because you're concerned that the price will go up. If it's not something that you're ready to buy now, you're not shopping for it, you possibly don't know when you would need it, that's not something you need to be concerned with. If you don't need a new pair of earphones, a new computer, a new monitor, a new television, then you don't need to be concerned that the price of those items might be rising or skyrocketing even. A lot of the news is provoking fear with items that we don't necessarily need to buy right away. They're items that maybe we own, maybe we would like an upgrade, but it doesn't mean that you need it. So don't panic. That's the worst thing that can happen. Back when I was young, you didn't have something like Amazon where you could just click and buy it today, click and buy it today. You actually had to make a list, you had to make a special trip to the store, and you had to choose from the items that were available. And so it's become so much that people have bigger houses, stuffed with more things, walk-in closets, storage units even, for things that they aren't even using. So let's try to be sensible about what are the things that we actually need, what do I already have, and what do I need to consider stocking a few extras. It's always great to have extras of the things that you actually use, but make sure they're things you're going to use and that you're not stockpiling out of fear or panic because of what the news media is projecting to us. The first item you want to consider stockpiling is medications. If you have prescriptions, maybe you need to make sure that you have an ample supply and that check over what your insurance will cover and things like that. Because a lot of the components in medications are produced overseas. Look through your supplies. Do you have a wide variety of over-the-counter medications that you normally would use? Make sure you have an extra bottle of pain reliever or acid reducer or burn cream. All of the over-the-counter medications, the first aid supplies that we normally want to have some items of that in our home. If you have, say, been using some up and you haven't replaced it, this might be a good time to add a little bit extra. Beef up your supply. But before you just go to the store and buy up all the gigantic bottles of over-the-counter medication, look through what you have. You may already have those items and you don't need to add more, or not every single one of them. So it makes more sense to begin with what do you have and then decide what you need. Coffee is something that lots of people enjoy, and we've been hearing for years there's going to be prices of coffee shooting up or shortages of coffee. If coffee is something you drink and you don't have a few months extra of your favorite beverage, maybe that's something that you want to stockpile. And realize that freeze-dried instant coffee lasts the longest. So if you're going to be storing some for the longest lasting, check out the freeze-dried instant varieties so that you're not going to have buckets of coffee beans going stale before you have a chance to use them. Everything with batteries comes from overseas, so if your gadgets and gizmos require batteries, get some extras now. You can still find them even at Dollar Tree for $1.25. It's easy to pick up some extra batteries and have them on hand with the sizes that you most likely use. I mostly use AA and AAA, occasionally 9 volts, and so I want to have plenty of those on hand. Look over the electronics and things that you have. What kind of batteries do they take? What do you need? Do you have even like a battery pack for charging up your cell phone? Do you have an extra cord in case your cord becomes damaged? Because those things are all coming from overseas, and it's important that we have a way to communicate. We have a way to keep those items that we rely on going. We need flashlights, we need radios, we need all kinds of gizmos and gadgets. So figure out what are the batteries that you need and have extra supplies of those on hand. Plastic comes from overseas. Maybe you're concerned with having some emergency water in plastic bottles. It might be a good time to stock up on a few extra of the gallons of water so that you'll have them for your emergency supplies. If summer is coming, maybe you want to have some personal type water bottles ready to hand out or throw in the back of your car. Pick up some extra water bottles. But just remember, there are plenty of containers you likely already own that you can fill up yourself. You don't have to buy water in a plastic container. You can refill things that you have. You probably have reusable water containers. Why have a cabinet full of empty ones? Fill some of them up. Have that water on hand right out of your tap. If you have a baby in the house, perhaps you want to have extra baby supplies on hand, which is always a good idea. You want to have extra diapers, wipes, and any food that you need to purchase. Those are items that you don't want to run out of, whether there's a tariff or not. You want to be able to have the everyday items that keep your life running smoothly. And if you have a baby, stock up on some of those extra items to make sure that you have them. If you're buying things like diapers, think ahead too. What is the next size your baby might need? Don't overbuy of the size they're using now, because all of a sudden those are too small. And then you want to have the next size available because you're going to need it. If you have pets, sad to say, a lot of the pet food products come from overseas, or the ingredients in them come from overseas. And so that's just something to realize. But don't overbuy on something like dried pet food, because that can go rancid. You need to store it very carefully, and don't buy like several years worth of dry dog food, because it's going to end up getting wasted. But make sure that you have enough for maybe a month or 2 or even 3. Stock up on food that you know your pet will eat, and then store it as airtight as possible in a cool, dark, dry place, just like the other foods we want to last. Think about cleaning supplies. A lot of the ingredients in cleaning supplies come from overseas. Whatever the cleaning supplies are that you use to maintain your home, maybe you want to stock an extra one of each of those items while you're at the store and you have the dollars to add a few things into your supplies. And just remember, you don't need all kinds of fancy cleaning supplies. You can do a lot of cleaning with things like white vinegar, baking soda, and even Dawn dish soap. Those are my 3 favorites, but I have other things as well. And don't forget your laundry detergent. Perhaps you want to get an extra package of laundry detergent. Think about personal hygiene supplies. Do you have an extra shampoo, an extra conditioner, an extra toothpaste, extra lotion? How about some spare toothbrushes? Those are the kind of items that you know you're going to use, so it makes perfect sense to have extras on hand, because then as you use up your last drop of toothpaste, your last drop of shampoo, you can go into your pantry, your stockpile, wherever, and get a replacement. Then as you use them up, then you replace them. So you want to have your system going that you use, rotate, replace, and have that replacement ready on hand before you rotate out until there's nothing else left. Make sure that you have your backup so you're able to rotate and then replace. And let's think about toilet paper. Anybody who lived through the pandemic of 2020 knows that people are crazy with toilet paper. Like it was never going to be created ever again, and who knows what people thought. I have no idea. But you want to make sure that you have an ample supply of toilet paper. That doesn't mean run to the store and buy up every last roll, but it does take up a lot of room. And that was one of the reasons why then all of a sudden the shelves were bare, because it's not like cans of soup. Packs of toilet paper are big, so there aren't going to be that many on the shelf. And so if people took several, that could be a whole shelf they just cleared by just buying several big packs, where you don't find that the shelves are clear if you buy several cans of soup. So does that make sense about just the bulk of it? There can only store so much toilet paper in the store. Then you also want to look at the size of toilet paper rolls. This one is the Amazon Presto. This one is Angel Soft, and you can see there is a huge difference in the size. So just having a number of rolls of toilet paper isn't exactly strategic. I find that in my home, 1 roll of Amazon Presto toilet paper will last a week, and if it's the Angel Soft, these we need 3 to equal the amount in this roll. So make sure you're keeping track of like how fast you go through toilet paper, what size are you buying, and then try to convince your family. 4 squares. Start with 4. You don't need to just go whoosh each and use half of a roll. You can start with 4 squares. If you need more, have a little bit more, but use caution. It also keeps your plumbing running smoothly if you don't have too much toilet paper clogging that system. Groceries are certainly something that people are concerned with, the prices going up and the availability. And so we as preppers have told people always try to grow a little bit of food. And luckily spring and summer are coming, so maybe you'll have that opportunity. You can also find fresh produce at farmers markets. You can then source local food. It doesn't have to come from, say, Mexico or some other country. You can buy local food. You can maybe even have friends and neighbors who are growing gardens. Maybe you can trade and barter with them. Help them with their garden, and then maybe they'll let you, say, glean extra fruit off their fruit trees. You can also consider looking in your community if there are community gardens. If you live in a high-rise and you don't have any outdoor space, it can be problematic to grow some of your food, but your community likely has some sort of a community garden where you can have a plot that you can go and you can grow some food yourself. So think about the different options of how you can keep providing fresh food, but then, it's always a good idea to have an extra supply in your pantry. So pick up a few cans and packages of food that you can have on hand. Every time you go to the store, buy a little bit extra, because in my opinion, every extra can of food I have is a meal in the future, and then I don't have to worry that I don't have enough or that food became too expensive. But I also buy foods that I like and I'm willing to eat, and the same thing, use, rotate, replace. So keep that food going, keep that stockpile growing, but do it reasonably. We want to remember not to clear the shelves while people are panicking over the ideas of tariffs. So generally, if you've been a prepper for a while and you've been stockpiling a little at a time, this isn't a moment that you need to panic. You likely have all kinds of things in your home that can keep your life running smoothly for a while. And so if you need some things, get them. But don't go hog wild thinking, I may never be able to afford things again, or they could be too expensive or never available again. And we're not at a doom and gloom situation here. We're at bumps in the road that we're all going to have for all kinds of times in our life. So we need to remember that we have faced hard times, we've gotten through it, we are prepared, and if not, there's still time to get more things. Let us know, how do you feel about the tariffs? Are you concerned? Which items are you concerned that may not be affordable or available in the future? Because it'll give us some things to think about if we share those ideas. I hope you'll like my video, share it, please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.